Township land acquisition is a very, very peculiar subject. In the sense, townships need to be gestated at least 5 years before they start up and are launched. For a land to qualify as a township, we believe it should be at least close to 85 to 100 acres. Otherwise, anything under that really is probably not a township, unless it's pretty much closer to the city. But having said that, most townships would be away from most urban cities. The acquisition strategy adopted by us is that we've acquired this land over decades. And that's been our strategy for land acquisition. However, having said that, we did not think of townships when we were acquiring the land. We were acquiring it because of the strategic nature of the land. However, today, whatever townships that we are planning in future, the land acquisition is being done today for a township that will probably come 5 or 6 years after. Townships need contiguous land, large pieces of land, and acquiring them in India is not easy. Your two probable best bets are acquire agricultural land from the farmer, okay, and work out a mechanism of how that works in its legal frameworks from state to state, or actually work with the government of the state to acquire that land. And more than often, a combination of both these issues will help you get that kind of land parcel, unless you are lucky enough to find one buyer with 100 acres of land who's got a clear and marketable land. Fortunately, I've been saved from that pain currently, because the land has been acquired by the mother company, PATEL Engineering, over decades. Yes, there are some few contiguous pieces of land that we need to buy, but that doesn't really cost you that much right now, just to expand it or clean up a border somewhere. But that's okay. We haven't faced that problem. However, having said that, if you're looking to buy 5 years down the line, your land is coming pretty cheap today. And if you are in the business, your internal cash accruals you obviously will have some amount of money that you put across for business development. This could be put in there. However, be careful, because it's a 5-year plan. You need to strategize very carefully.
Also tell me, which are the states which are actually very friendly towards developers like you in terms of real estate and infrastructure development when it comes to land acquisition?
None. Really, because I don't think
That's brutally frank.
It is, and I'm going to be. Because I don't think none of the states in India have a policy of township which is friendly towards township development. The state government needs to understand that when I put in approval for a township plan, I cannot give him every building that comes on that township, because I do not know what's going to be built 3 years, 4 years later.
But that's what the new law is going to come about, where they are saying that you will have to actually disclose everything that is going to be built in a particular project.
Yeah, but that's exactly the whole failing of this. When you master plan, I would like to ask the government of India, when they launched Navi Mumbai, what did they think is going to come? And what's come today? It's not going to be there. These things will change, because the whole idea of doing a township or a Hiranandani, like he did, one of the earliest in Bombay, was that you can adjust your product to the market. How can I confirm the product today if 2-bedroom hall will sell, or 3 will sell, or a 6-bedroom will sell, or a villa will sell, or there will be an IT SEZ, or there will be a biotech SEZ? I don't know. But I want to develop a township based on a certain concept and a theme, which is probably based around an industrial unit or a SEZ or not.
Which is prevalent to that particular time.
Which is prevalent today. So you master plan it today and you let it adjust. And that's how you build towns. I don't know why people don't understand. Rome wasn't built in a day. Therefore you can't sit and decide it in a day. But if the government hopefully will understand this, and as a matter of fact, we have been able to secure some of our approvals in the current township based on this theory that we are propagating, that we need to continue to adjust. So, it's a tough one, but I think the states really need to understand that.
When it comes to conversion of agricultural land for real estate and infrastructure development, what are the major issues that you face, and what do you think as a resolution to it?
That's a very generic question on a very specific topic, because it changes state to state. Conversion process.
Let's take about Bangalore or Karnataka.
There's not really too much of a problem there. I think there's a process which is well documented and well set out, and if you follow that process, it doesn't take too much time.
But actually, Karnataka is much better placed than other states, isn't it so? When it comes to conversion issues.
Yes, probably to an extent. Andhra Pradesh is also fine. Yeah. We haven't had too much of problems in Tamil Nadu either. Maharashtra has been okay. for conversion. However, Maharashtra has kind of town planned most of their districts, so that product pretty much takes care of it. But yeah, I don't think conversion is so much of an issue as much as land titles are, because farmers have mortgaged, picked up loans, etc.
I'll come to titling issue in a bit. Now, second thing is about, states like West Bengal, where Mamata Banerjee has actually gone on record saying that government is not going to acquire land for the private developers or any kind of infrastructure projects. What is your stand? Because there are two schools of thoughts among the real estate developers. Some people feel that the government should acquire and then hand it over to the real estate developers. That's much easier. Some people say that the real estate developers should pay the market price and buy and do their own development. Where do you stand?
Let's stick to this question when it only comes to townships. Okay, when it comes to townships, you're obviously buying a land outside the city. Let the developer pay market costs. That farmer will probably get a little or nothing out of it. Okay? Let a developer go and speculate and buy 5 acres of land in the center of a 200-acre parcel and sabotage it. Come on, guys. The government, if Mamata Banerjee is looking for investments in the state, you need to facilitate investments. Everywhere in the world it's done. I think the process of acquisition by the government needs to be a little more transparent. And if that can be done, there is nothing wrong in the government acquiring it. Yes, there needs to be a consent, and if the land is fertile and being farmed upon, it should not be acquired. Because we're going to run short of food shortly. We're going to have townships, but hungry ones. So that's not a good idea either.
But then why do the developers insist that government should not get involved in acquiring of land? They take it as an issue.
Because that comment is probably coming from the land speculator kind of developer, and not from the real guy who's going to go and build the township. So I think that's where the difference is.
Okay. My next question would be, what do you think about this issue of farmers asking for more money after the agreement has been signed, especially this Yamuna Expressway issue, where the farmers were paid the highest in history as far as compensation is concerned. But then later on they found that in addition to the roads, there are malls coming up, all kinds of villas coming up around that place, and they find that they are being cheated, which is actually not the case.
You're right. Well, this really happens because at the time of acquisition, you've told the farmer, I'm acquiring your land for public purposes. Then you've gone and built a mall. Of course he's going to feel cheated. So would you.
But Mr. Malkani, just to be devil's advocate, when you buy and sell a particular property, you don't know what the buyer is going to do with your property. Now later on, you can't come 2 years later and say that now you have built so many more things than
No,
what
I
you told.
understand. But is he a seller? He's being acquired upon. Please understand. He's not selling it. The government is saying, I'm acquiring you. Let me take away something from you and then go and yield a higher profit from it. You won't like it because nobody informed you of the value. Now every citizen, as far as the government is concerned, should be equal. And he has to be transparent with the farmer and tell him, look, this has been acquired for a private development. Would you A, like some money for this? B, like to be a partner in this? Make a choice there. Depending on his economic condition and socio-economic strata that he comes from, let him make that choice. But we don't want to do that. There are different theories why that is not done, but that's a separate topic by itself.
But you always stand with this thing that the farmers have to be given a price which is taking into consideration all those developments which will take place in that particular
Why not?
place.
Because if any other landowner in Mumbai, right outside my window, if there's a landowner there, he knows what the apartments sell for. He knows what the construction costs are. He knows what the builder makes a profit. He does the math. He back calculates the cost of his land and he goes to market with it, and the developer buys it. If he buys it here, he should buy it there.
Fine. What are the international standards and practices in this particular issue of land acquisition? In developed world, how does it take place? Do they have so many issues regarding acquiring land from farmers and agricultural land?
When we say the developed world, I presume we're talking about the western part of the world. All right. The western part of the world has for the longest time hasn't seen these sort of large townships coming up. They have a population that's not really requiring that kind of acceleration. The places that you've seen this is China and India. China, well, the story is pretty clear. We want that land, you get out, we come in. Story over. How this works in a democracy, how this works in a system of Indian democracy, which is noisy, that's the challenge. I think we can't really draw from what the West has done. There have been land acquisitions for industrial reasons, but that's far back now. Value of land type of land was different. People acquired forests and cut them down. You can't do that today.
No, what I was driving at is, can't we take lessons from what happened in the West, rather than reinventing the wheel again in India when it comes to land acquisition?
We can. I think there are a lot of good points that you can draw from.
Okay, which
from the West. I think the fact that there is a transparency in the acquisition process, which is huge. I think there is a hearing in which people get to understand why the land is being acquired for. They get to meet the prospective developers. It's strange, but if you go to see a lot of the land acquisitions, it's acquired from the farmer, which you just commented on, which is the highest price in history. Okay, fantastic. When that land was auctioned, what was the price differential? 10x, 20x, 100x? You're taking advantage of ignorance, sir, which is what the West didn't do. That's the first lesson to take.
Okay.
Treat your people equally. I think apart from the strategic nature of approvals that you need, what is critical for a township in India is how you get the infrastructure to your township. How do you get water? How do you get power? How do you get roads?
Okay.
You're obviously off the city, you need a lot of help with this. Now that's really where you need to work with the state government, with the local bodies, look at how you can, exhibit with them how they can benefit and will benefit with this township coming into their zone and their area. And once you can get that support, you're pretty much okay. You should be okay in getting these approvals.
Now in terms of SEZs as well as townships, why do people actually have a problem with approvals at all in the first place? Because they are basically thrust areas of government. Government has said that the townships and SEZs are thrust areas. Then why is that we don't have a single window to dur ki baat hai? We don't even have a basic format or a protocol which the developers can follow.
Well, first of all, don't believe everything the government says. First rule of law in this business. They give the SEZ tax concession, then they put them under MAT. So it's, the less is said about that, better. But I think the governments who are progressive and who really want their states to move ahead should look at this seriously. It's a damn good question. I don't understand that either. And there should be no reason for that, because what you're doing is getting massive investments in the state, creating massive amount of jobs in the state compared to one building. I mean, the guy who's doing one single building and I have to do the same kind of... Oh, the most difficult one is the environment and getting approval for water and power. Every state is short. I was even told by one state government that you should build your own power plant, because we can't support it, but we give you the approval for the township. Now we can't give you power, so build your own power plant. He has no fuel.
Now, how does it actually affect your project in terms of when you say you have to have your own power plant?
Well, what you do at that time is just take it as one man's comment and don't take it as a representation of the government, because the government is also represented by individuals. And you go and you speak to the authorities and you try to negotiate and knock back some sense into the whole thing, and slowly and surely ensure that you've got the power and the water.
No, Hiranandani sir once very clearly said that it's all very whimsical. One official decides the policy and how it should be interpreted. Do you think that is the kind of problems which you face?
I agree with you. I agree with you.